Good evening, everyone. Time for another silver update. This is the 2-hour chart of silver provided by netdania.com. You can click on the link below. I've drawn some trend lines in here. One of the key ones is the one that we've broken out of, a downtrend from the 31.25 level back in April. And you can see we got out of it, we went down below it, and it seems to be holding. Now we're rounding up here. And the other key trend line is going to be this rising one here, and then we're rising, kind of arcing out of it. 2850 has been a level that I've watched for a long time. A breakout through 2850 is going to signal a continuation of this bottom or rounding formation. So we're looking for that possibly this week. If we can get a breakout of that 2850 level, then we'll see. The next level of challenge is going to be around 30 up here. So it could be a boring week, but then it could be an interesting week if we get a breakout. Now this is going to kind of be a tinfoil hat nutter type of edition, so if you're not into those sorts of things, you probably want to tune out now. There's a lot of stories on that in the news. Before I get to that, let's get to the question of the night. This is from Parkster 500. Dow, gold, and the dollar. Hi, Brother John F. Just a quick thought. When the dollar is strong, gold and the Dow are weak, right? So when they eventually print money to weaken the dollar, gold and the Dow will rise. Question is, where does the Dow-gold ratio come into it? Surely one of these assets will detach, or will they? What signs are we looking for? Hope this makes sense. Well, that's pretty complicated. As I pointed out before, you have to remember that when you talk about the dollar, you're talking about a dollar index. I assume that's what he's talking about. The dollar index is a basket of other currencies. To the extent that the other central banks in the world are printing money as well, then the dollar can stay steady while they all decline against gold. So the real dollar index is going to be gold, and that's going to be true of all the other currencies. That's what happens when you have a free-floating exchange system like the one that we've been on since 1971. I've shown charts of the dollar before which show it at a level that it was a good 10 or more years ago, but we know that prices have risen significantly since then. So that's not something you can rely on. Now, the Dow, of course, is denominated in dollars. They're going to be U.S. companies, so any Dow prices are going to be subject to dollar fluctuations. But is the Dow a good place to invest? Well, I think I've shown in the past that the Dow is pretty much flat for the last decade or more. And of course, if you add in the devaluation or decrease in the value of the dollars that the Dow represents, then you're looking at a significant loss over the last 10 years. Now, the Dow-gold ratio, I think that can be an indicator of the move towards hard assets. But then again, I think that most people agree that the Dow has pretty much been propped up by the powers that be, or whether you want to call it the plunge protection team or the Bernanke Fed. It seems like a lot of the money that's been given to the banks has flowed into the Dow and the rest of the stock market. Now, we have been seeing the type of dot-com stocks weaken and fall off. I covered Zynga last, and as you know, Facebook is cut in half and Groupon is collapsing, and I'm expecting LinkedIn to follow suit next. But it's can be very deceptive and illusory to try to look at dollar-denominated prices. You have to remember that the real measurement of anything is going to be gold, and that's even going to be the measurement of the dollar. So let's jump into the tinfoil hat nutter area, and there's a number of reasons I've decided to cover that. And the first I want to cover is a story that is on Zero Hedge right now, and that is this story about this Marine or ex-Marine who the headline says was arrested for patriotic posts on Facebook. Now, I don't know all the facts of this story. I have seen some of the posts supposedly that this person made. This is all guessing at this point. I don't know. But supposedly these were patriotic posts. I've read some of the Facebook posts, if they're the accurate ones. One's talking about chopping heads and generals and things like that. Now, clearly, that is in the area of speech that is not protected speech. And it's just, well, let me give you my opinion on that sort of thing. I'll take you over to the blog. I put this in as the quote of the day. And this is a quote from John Lennon. He says, "You say you want a revolution. Well, you know, we all want to change the world. But when you talk about destruction, don't you know that you can count me out?" So I really think that it is a very dangerous thing for people to be drawn into these sites, or people who promote or follow people who promote the advocacy of any kind of violence. And of course, you can see here on the blog for Tinfoil Hat Sunday, I've got the James Holmes conspiracy. Now, there's some interesting facts coming out about that. I don't know what the facts are about that. But I can tell you this, that you probably would be better off if you have a little voice in your head telling you to be violent about something. You probably shouldn't listen to that voice, and you should probably forsake all violence. I am a person who advocates nonviolence, and of course, stacking silver is, and that's the thing that's really sad about that, and I'm going to emphasize this when we close. But stacking silver is a way to change the world that's nonviolent. There's a lot of things you can do to change the world, and you have a very important vote that you can use, and that's with your dollars. If you don't believe in GMO foods, don't buy them. If you don't believe in Big Pharma, don't buy their stuff. If you don't believe in fiat currency, then buy physical silver. There's a lot of things you can do, and I think it's very dangerous to get caught up in following in my opinion, a lot of these people honestly are crazy people. Now, to get over to some of these nutters, I will call them, there's been kind of a blow up on one of my YouTube videos of a person who is accusing me of being Lame Cherry. Now, Lame Cherry, I don't need to come up with a name for Lame Cherry because Lame Cherry's done it for him or herself. Very lame. This is a person who claims to be a Christian but posts all sorts of, I'm not going to scroll down here because a lot of the pictures are near pornographic, but this is a person who claims to be a Christian and posts all kinds of crazy conspiracy theories about the Ashkenazi Jews controlling everything, and Obama being Chinese, and Mitt Romney being Mexican, and a lot of crazy stuff. But I've been accused of being Lame Cherry in hiding, so I wanted to make that clear. I'm not Lame Cherry. Lame Cherry is just another nutter. I read some of this stuff, but I read a lot of stuff. The next one that I want to cover is Saoirse Fall. I don't know if you've heard of Saoirse Fall. I call him or it Saoirse Fail. This is one of the people who constantly has end of the world predictions, and you can see when you go to the site that there's actually many Saoirse Falls of the Saoirse Fall order. Sister Mary Teresa is the 73rd Saoirse Fall of the Saoirse Fall order, elected as Mother Superior the 3rd of February 2007. So there's a lot of people who post these Saoirse Fall articles. I don't know where this stuff is coming from. Maybe it's some kind of Russian group. I have no idea. And then we also have our Benjamin Fulford. And by the way, I'm not Saoirse Fall either. Then we have Benjamin Fulford. He's another one of the tinfoil hat nutters a lot of people follow. He talks a lot about the White Dragon Society, supposedly a group in Asia that's going to take back things from the Western banksters, and all these crazy theories. So here are some of the groups and people I've been accused of following. I've been accused of being, of course, I don't agree with any of these people, and for the most part, they're a bunch of nutters. And I suggest that if you do follow them, you should very carefully read what they have to say, and you should take everything they say with a grain of salt. Now, I wanted to go over to the Mt. Gox Bitcoin site because, and this, of course, is going to be nutter and tinfoil hat stuff for a lot of people as well. Very interesting weekend in the Bitcoin. It hit $15 per Bitcoin and then had a monstrous crash. And this is Mt. Gox. This is where you can actually trade. I have a number of my Bitcoins on this site. I actually started to see this run up and sold off most of them on this rise, and as of now I've pretty much bought back the Bitcoins at a lower price, hoping to see another rise. And one of the reasons I like to play this, it's actually very interesting and very fun, is because it's a real 24-hour trading market, and you can see that here. And that's something that we don't really have in our markets anymore, although, like I said, I'm planning to go in next week and begin to short LinkedIn, because I think that that one is going to be the next fall. So I'll let you know in another episode how that went. But I do like trading the Bitcoin. It's very interesting. What's so interesting for me is that you actually have an open view of the market here. You can see this site is clarkmoody.com, bitcoin.clarkmoody.com, and you can see that you've got the bid and the ask, but you've also got the size. So you can see right now, you can see we've got fairly heavy pressure still on the sell side. We're at about 7.9. Like I said, I've pretty much repurchased most of mine around 8 to 8.5. So I may have tried to pick a bottom too soon. But you can see we're trading fairly actively here. And you can see the pressure on the size. We've got 104, 76. These are all of the sizes. And then these are the sizes of the buys. So if you scroll down, you can see when you add them all together, we've got about 1,600 buyers from 7.6 and up. And we've got about 3,000 sellers from 8.2 and down. So there's still quite a bit of selling pressure on the Bitcoin. It's going to be very interesting to watch to see what happens with this. If you don't believe in it, that's fine, but it is kind of a fun market to play with. There are very strict restrictions at Mt. Gox as far as depositing and withdrawing money. Now, I happen to have a number of Bitcoins that I had signed up, and I had, you can see there's my wallet, it's 154, not a lot of Bitcoins, but I just trade back and forth, and that's what I like to do. It's a way to play it, and we'll see if this thing turns out to be a big disaster or crisis, or I'm kind of waiting to see if the government cracks the code. I think it would be fairly clear that if government or hackers or any other group cracks this code, then we would see an immediate crash in the price, and we would go to zero, and that would be the end of that. So that would be the end of my 150 Bitcoins. But anyway, so that's the Bitcoin. Back to the main story, and for me that's going to be silver. I just find it very disappointing and very discouraging to see people follow a lot of these nutters that are advocating some type of violent overthrow or violence against anybody. It's very disconcerting to see that. There's no reason for that. If you want to change the system, you have a very important vote, and that's the vote of your dollars. There's a lot of companies I've mentioned before. I personally believe in the organic food movement, and there's a lot of money going towards Whole Foods, for example. And you can see the interview I covered on the blog with the CEO of Whole Foods, and he talks a little bit about these things. But a very successful business. I try to patronize them. And there's a lot of businesses that you can patronize. And of course, the most important one, if you believe what I believe, is going to be physical silver. If you act on your convictions and buy physical silver, convert your fiat paper into physical silver, then you can actually make a big difference in the world and possibly change the financial system. And you can do that without following a nutter, becoming a nutter, or like our friend here who went crazy on Facebook, getting arrested and taken in for questioning. So it's a lot safer to just stick to buying things like Bitcoins if you believe in them, and physical silver if you believe in it. And probably want to stay away from the nutters. And we'll talk to you next time.